Hi and welcome back to Pod Builds. So this week we're continuing building the village on the player versus player island that we used in the Let the Wiki Win Battle Royale style tournament a few weeks ago. Now this was just this side of the island, as I've said in the previous episode. It was just a bit plain, it was just fields and a bit boring for players to run through. So I added an entire village just to make it a lot more interesting and to give the players, I don't know, just a place to get lost in. And it's something fun to build as well. So already we've built the docks, a little kind of pub hotel, added a few streets, a little garden and a bridge. And this is me now moving on to, I think, what will be slums, kind of little houses, a lot of small houses crammed in next to each other with pathways and dark alleyways through them. And this was quite fun to build because I've never really built anything quite like this before. But I really like just creating a town just from nothing, building it up to you know trying to imagine how it would actually work, where the paths would go and where people would live, what they'd need. So you can see here, now I've got the foundations. I'm dividing the space up into, however many houses I need. The irregular shape, as you can see through that what will be an alleyway and through the centre, I really like the irregular shape. It just adds to the medieval style feel to it. I guess a long time ago they wouldn't have had as accurate town planning as they do now. You won't have houses that are all exactly the same size. And it just makes it a little bit more interesting. Like, for instance, if you run down the alleyway, you won't be able to see from one end to the other. So I'm using sandstone blocks and stone bricks for the walls, which I'm continuing the same style I used in the pub or hotel type thing on the harbour. I think if you're building a village or a town, it's good to try and keep. You don't want to keep exactly the same materials for every building, because that'll be a bit boring, but you want to at least kind of keep the same theme, I think. Like, for instance, here I've used sandstone for the walls, as I've said, but for the roof, instead of carrying on the nether brick, which I used on the docks, I've moved on to wood. Because I feel like if these are, slums, really cheap houses, they maybe wouldn't have brick roofs. What I like about the uneven shape I put in is that it means that the roof is quite uneven and different height as it goes along, which also means that in some parts it covers the alleyway, making it even darker. So I added stone brick stairs here just to separate each house, and just to kind of break up, the long. Otherwise, it was just a long strip of wood. And here I'm just adding different style doorways, making each one slightly different, adding signs, just for a bit of variety. I tried different things using stairs, sandstone stairs. You can always use that if you have a big wall that you want to make a little bit more interesting, because it just adds little indents. So here around the back, because the houses come straight onto, this I don't know what you'd call it, walkway or whatever by the docks. I thought I'd make this a little market. Maybe these houses have, I don't know, they have market stalls out the back. Maybe the vendors live inside these houses. I don't know. But either way, it added a bit of colour to it, and it gave me an excuse to put in, I could put in chests and anvils and stuff which people would use. So now that's done, I've moved on to the other side of the village and this big expanse of nothing which was needing filled up. And I thought I'd build a little church. The only thing I've built like this before is the massive cathedral from the challenge map we played. And this I thought would be a nice chance to use quartz, which is one of the new blocks in Minecraft, which I love. I mean, it's replaced white wool as my favourite building material, because it looks more or less the same. But you get quartz stairs and you get quartz half slabs, which you didn't with wool. So to try and link it to the rest of the village, I've still kept the stone bricks in this build. However, as a church, I think maybe it should stick out a little bit. I toyed with the idea of doing quartz roof there, but that wouldn't make sense. So I'll carry on the wooden roof that I've used on the slum housing. So now I've created one side, if it's a symmetrical building, I always want to try and do one side first, then it's easy to copy across, on the other side. However, first I'd have to make this tower at the front. So I had fun playing about with different shaped windows, and something that looks nice but also gives players the opportunity to look out of and fire arrows on. And as you'll see later on, I alter that window slightly so it gives players a little bit of a better vantage point. So here I am just finishing off the peak of the roof before I go across and copy it across to the other side. And then the problem was trying to get what looked like a convincing roof for the top of the tower. And I eventually settled on what you would get on a church, a little kind of spire. So I had a bit of trouble with this, making it look right. The stone bricks going up all the way through it didn't quite like. But I do love the being able to use corner stairs now. I think it makes things a lot easier. In a way, it's starting to get away from the original feel of Minecraft, but I don't know, I like it. I like making buildings that look nice. And there we go. That doesn't look too bad. So I added just lighting around it, a little bit of detail, nice windows, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be big, it doesn't need to be really impressive. It's a nice little church. Player can go in, find stuff, hide, and it's just another building that the village would need. So thanks for watching Bob Builds, and I'll see you next week.